My name's Dave Dubeau, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content.
All right, guys, welcome to Property Profits Podcast. I'm your host, Bryce Kaminsky, filling in for Dave Dubeau. And have you ever wondered how to ace real estate investing despite the challenges? Today, my guest, Tish Taitano. I'm probably screwing that up because I'm not great with last names. She'll correct me. The mastermind behind Gold Pineapple Real Estate. From market maneuvers to invaluable lessons, she's here to share her secrets. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. My last name is Taitano. That's okay. Everyone butchers my name, and I shortened my first name for that same reason. So at least you can get half of it right.
There you go. 50%. That's a pass for me. So tell us more about the vision behind this Gold Pineapple Real Estate and, how you're implementing it in the market.
Yeah, so I had been working, I got into real estate with a family member, and I got my license at first in Western Washington, which was a very busy market. Started out as a listing agent and, was doing sales and came from the hospitality industry and just thought, wow, this is a really, really interesting business, right? Like I had worked at these like really high level restaurants and developed these incredible hospitality skills, and thought that, wow, like, why is this getting missed in real estate? And I knew there was something else that I needed as well. At that point, I had also turned my primary residence into a rental and thought one day, wow, one day this is going to be paid for, and all of that cash flow is going to just, be pure cash flow. And so I Googled something. I can't even remember what I Googled, but Bigger Pockets, of course, came up, and this video with Brandon Turner explaining how to acquire more rentals turned up, and I just got hooked. I binged on Bigger Pockets for probably about a year before I got out of analysis paralysis and just took action. Started networking more and networking, and then eventually got involved with a business partnership that really got me started into real estate investing. I sold that rental and I used that money to put towards flips, and it just kind of took off from there.
Yeah, so there is a lot of similarities between hospitality and being a good real estate agent, because it's just service, right? That's the same service, but it's kind of a lost art on most real estate agents. They're not implementing hospitality. They're transactional. They're like, oh, you want to buy a house? Let me find you a house. Okay, here, buy this one. And then it's, that's the end of the transaction. But if you could make it more like service, definitely you could get an advantage. So, with a focus on Washington and Arizona, what specific about those markets do you see advantages in there?
So I started out in the Washington market because I'm a native Washingtonian. I was born on Fort Lewis, huge military family, moved away for a while, but then always came back and lived in the greater Seattle area, like more of actually in the city for most of my adult life until I had my son. When I moved back to Pierce County, where JBLM is, and needed to get help from family. So, my roots are in Washington, but I've always had an itch to leave. I actually lived in Northern California for a year, Guam for 9. I lived in New York for a year, and I had thought I had moved by then, for good. And then my grandpa got really sick, and I thought, New York will always be there and my grandpa won't. So always just come back home, so to speak. And then recently I decided to move to Southern Arizona. I was originally going to move to California because I absolutely love Palm Springs, but I was looking for a different kind of desert. And so I stuck with just south of Tucson. So I've been going back and forth, working, trying to do deals. I joined an amazing team in Washington, while, working with my license. They've been really supportive. And um, so it's just been, uh, I've always had the desire to not be in Washington, but again, this is where my roots are. And it's nice to have, a place in another market to be able to live and work.
Mm-hmm. So uh, part of the strategies is like wholesaling, seller finance, midterm rentals. How do you decide which strategy you use for particular properties?
So I think the turn of the market after the crazy busy COVID times
Mm-hmm.
forced some of us to have to kind of reevaluate into those things and see how we can, keep properties without losing, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so pivoting into short-term rentals and midterm rentals, especially in Washington where the rental laws are just insane and the prices are so high. And um, you know, thinking of ways to be able to get that cash flow and keep properties while protecting yourself just made a lot of sense. And then integrating those hospitality skills that I gained working in restaurants, was really helpful to be able to develop, that side of the business and just keep going from there. And, always knowing that, hey, nothing's always going to be perfect and you're always going to be tweaking something and there's always going to be some law that you're going to have to work around.
Mm-hmm.
So just making sure that you're keeping up with that and you're adaptable, but you're also not losing is probably the most important thing about getting into those strategies. Because ultimately you want to, like, long-term rentals, um, you want to underwrite for long-term rentals, right? It's,
Mm-hmm.
the smart thing to do. Well, who knows what's going to happen with the short and midterm rental market, but if you can make it work with these other strategies, I think that that's definitely the way to go when you're working around the crazy laws or, no cash flow otherwise or negative cash flow even.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and it works because if you're in an appreciating market, then, it's good. If you're not in an appreciating market, obviously don't go for those strategies.
Yeah, I mean the holding and the paying it off. That's, I think, one thing people don't look at is like if you're going to get into real estate, you have to have like short, medium, and long-term strategy. It's got to be a mix, otherwise you're too susceptible to like market fluctuations. So you'd mentioned starting a new business. That often involves a pretty steep learning curve. So what are some of the most valuable lessons you've learned along the way?
So I would say trusting your gut.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the mistakes I noticed that I've made in real estate is, blindly trusting other people just because I was new. Um, I would say that even though I am still pretty newer to real estate, I got my license in 2019. That's really not that long if you think about it.
Yeah.
Working with certain people and just seeing what they're doing and feeling that it's not right and trying to communicate that, at first is really hard, right? Because you think, okay, well, maybe I don't know. This is just something that I don't know about this industry, and they know better because they've been doing it for 20, 30 years, even sometimes. So I'm just going to trust them. And then deep down, you've got these feelings of this just doesn't feel right.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you have to listen to your intuition. Just because you don't have the experience doesn't mean that you're not smart enough to understand that something's right or wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Maybe dig a little deeper and figure out where those, emotions are coming from and see if it is just an emotion or intuition. Something cool that I learned from my new business partner. Um, and don't always just go with the flow. Ask a lot of questions. Make sure that you understand what you're doing. And, if something is just not working, don't write it out because you've put the time in. Just, let it go and start fresh. And so that's why I've, um, started this new business and thought, like I've ran so many other people's businesses for so long. I
Hmm.
think it's time to just do my own and do it right, and do it with excellence. And that's where Gold Pineapple comes from. Everyone keeps asking, what is with this name, Gold Pineapple? Where did you come up with that? I thought,
Hmm.
what's lacking in the real estate industry is excellence, and gold is a symbol of excellence or the highest regard. And pineapples are a symbol of hospitality, and that's not something that you see in this very service oriented industry. And so I
Yeah.
wanted to integrate those two things and be able to provide those services for everyone that I come across.
So one thing with building a business and doing all these things is leveraging time effectively. So um, how have you managed to like delegate tasks and build a reliable team to kind of support that business growth?
Um, I think that was something else that I struggled with in these other businesses, and another learning lesson that um, I need to figure out you need to figure out what you're good at, what you're not good at, and what are tedious things you can delegate
Hmm.
first. So kind of take a step back and take a look at, that list, and then be able to find also the right people to be able to delegate to.
Hmm.
Um, and so it really just took a lot of time and effort, and, building relationships to be able to, find the right people to be able to do that. Um, Time management is probably not something I'm the greatest at. But I am also a solo parent, and, you know, I usually try to prioritize my child a lot, but, I do get help from other people to be able to,
Hmm.
do the work that I need. But sometimes, and you're not going to see him today, but he usually likes to hop on calls. Like my son likes to hop on calls with
Jumps
this.
on the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely challenging. I think more so for women than for men. There's like a social kind of expectation that women watch the kids and guys go back to work or whatever. So, um, yeah, certainly challenging, and you do need that kind of like space to like take and make calls. So it's good that you got some help to kind of navigate that. Now, you mentioned developing additional services like property management and like co-hosting. What kind of inspired these expansions, and what role do they play in your long-term strategy?
So I actually worked as a property manager, and we would always get these calls and referrals about, co-hosting short-term rentals, midterm
Mhm.
rentals, rent by the room, um, the unusual types of rentals that are becoming
Mhm.
more common because, again, in Washington, properties are really expensive, and you have to get really creative to figure out where you're going to find that cash flow.
Mhm.
And it was more of a traditional property management company, so they there just weren't the right systems to be able to handle anything outside of a long-term
Long-term
rental.
rental. Yeah.
So I thought, why not be able to eventually offer people these services, or, tailor the services to what your clients need? Because at the end of the day, you're providing a service, and you need to make sure that, you know, you can capture a bigger audience, especially when you've got all of these different new ways for real estate investors to make money. On top of me not being able to find, these services myself. So I thought, I'm doing this myself. Why not try to offer these new
Do
services
it
to
for
other
other
people
people.
and figure out a way to make it work for everyone?
So expanding into markets like California, Texas, what do you see coming up there that's got you thinking about expanding? What opportunities do you see?
California really, I feel like, gets a lot of slack because of it the landlord laws that are there and, it being so expensive. But there are different strategies. You don't just have to buy rentals to make money in real estate.
Hmm.
Flips are a great way to
Yeah,
make
there's a lot of people
money.
flipping in California for sure.
Yeah, condo conversions are an excellent way to make money. You're creating affordable housing when you do that. So, it's I again, it's there are um there are certain strategies that work best for certain markets, and I think that California is one of those like great flip markets. I
Hmm.
actually have a friend who invests in long-term rentals in California, and she no fear because she knows and understands the laws. She knows how to communicate them with her tenants. She knows how to work with them. And so, you just have to have like a certain comfort level when dealing with, different markets and different laws, as well as, there's always risk tolerance too. Like we always talk about in this industry, like what is your risk tolerance and what, you have to have a pretty big level of risk tolerance to be able to invest in real estate because it is a pretty big deal and a pretty big leap. You know,
Especially if you're like flipping in California, those are typically not the cheapest properties in the country. So you're gonna have to bite the bullet and go into that.
yeah, exactly. And so, that's one of the markets that I'm looking at doing more probably like syndications or funds to be able to, um, do those deals because they are so expensive and it does take a lot of capital. So why not, bringing other people to have a piece of the pie.
Yeah, definitely. The price point is there's cheaper places to work, but nothing's better than when you flip it, make 10% on $1 million. That's what you're out there trying to do. So, for someone just starting out in real estate investing, what key piece of advice would you offer them to set them on the right path?
I would say that, don't get stuck in analysis paralysis. Make sure that, you do little things to take action. Um, don't get sold by the salesman.
Hmm.
That was something that I got caught doing. Um, I was, you can be in La La Land and go, oh, okay, everyone's trying to help me. And,
Yeah, not the real
really
estate
a lot of
agents. They're salespeople, people. Remember, not every real estate agent is like that, but they're typically representing the seller. So, be careful, get represented if you can. I know things are changing down there in the United States about representation, but at the end of the day, um, you're right. Not everyone is there. Though they're helping someone, it might not always be you.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not even just the real estate agents, it's also there's a lot of gurus out there that are
Hmm.
asking for, I swear it's like 10 grand to get into one class and then they
Hmm.
upsell you on more classes.
Hmm.
And I'm just like, man, that's crazy. You
Hmm.
know, network as much as you can, go out and
Hmm.
meet people, just get out there and talk to other people doing it, see what they're doing, visit their projects. That's one of the things I love doing. I hate paperwork. I love being out in the field. So I'll go visit people and talk to them about their projects. Offer to help people as much as you can, like find something that you can do and, provide value to the people, you want to network with, and then they'll provide value to you.
So then on that note, what resources or mentors have you used to kind of move your journey along? Any recommendations for those seeking guidance?
Um, I am probably a little random, but
I think
also
you
pretty
mentioned like bigger pockets
area.
earlier.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
gonna say I do a lot of random things on YouTube, but then I also like my big thing was bigger pockets. I did learn a lot about a lot of different strategies and a lot of different experiences from other people.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, bigger pockets was probably my big um, educational tool for when I was trying to get in a lot more into investing instead of just having my little rental that used to be the place I used to live.
So, YouTube University, then no mentors or networking events or masterminds, anything like that?
I My previous partnership was more of a earn while you learn. I was very green to real estate investing. I had that one rental that I was in the middle of selling, and I got to do flips with my previous partnership, um, which that whole company is getting dissolved right now. So I just won't mention it too much. And just I
You like
used
worked to learn. You got to play with the pieces of a bigger company.
Yeah, and so that's another thing that I'm going to be offering with Gold Pineapple is, and I'm calling it, I gave it this silly, catchy little thing called JB with Tisha T, where people can do the same thing because I realized that I wasn't the type of person to learn
Some
um,
webinar or some like
through
course. You
like
got to like your
lectures and
hands on.
yeah, I'm a lot more hands-on. That's how I learn. And so that's how I learned everything in this business. And you can analyze everything all you can, but you're really not going to learn how to do it until you actually go do it. And so that's
Yeah,
also
step
why,
out of the simulator and get into the real world.
yeah, absolutely. And that's why I encourage everyone to take action. You're going to make mistakes, and the mistakes could be costly, but that's the 10 grand that you paid the guru for doing nothing too.
So yeah, definitely make sure that you're, I guess what I'm hearing is like make sure that the education that you seek is in line with the type of learner that you are. Some
Absolutely.
people don't learn hands-on. They get too afraid. They want to know before they touch anything. Like I want to read the entire manual before I start turn this machine on. So yeah, make sure that your education, I like that, is in line with the way you learn. Because I think everyone, you can learn this thing the long way or the hard way or whatever way works, but I think there's always a learning curve with anything new, specifically real estate, because there is so many different strategies popping up, dragging you left and right. And so with the kind of like YouTube University, bigger pockets in this, how did you avoid the shiny object syndrome?
I don't think that I necessarily avoided again, the costly mistakes that you can do in this business that you probably shouldn't do. Don't fall for the shiny object syndrome. Yeah, consistency is key. And I'm not saying don't try new things, but if something's working and it's consistent, keep with it.
Stick it out.
But be adaptable to the market and what's going on with your market or other markets. Don't get
Awesome.
trapped.
Awesome. So if people want to connect with you, they want to find out more, what should they do? How do they find you?
You can look up Gold Pineapple Real Estate Investments on Facebook. That's probably where I do a lot of interacting. You'll probably just see me too, uh, in groups and talking to people, chatting, asking questions, answering questions.
Mhm.
Looking for value, providing value. That's another great way to network in this day and age.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you stopping by.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. And until next time, guys, we'll catch you on the next episode.
Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewyou.com. Now at moneypartnerformula.com, we help real estate investors to create a process for predictably getting capital so they can do more deals without relying on hard money lenders or the banks. We do this by building them a private capital marketing system. Now, if you want help turning yourself into a big money capital attraction machine, then book a call with our team to see how we can help. Just visit moneypartnerformula.com to find out more. All right, take care, and we'll see you on the next interview.